So right off the bat, I'm simply gonna say it. Isn't it true that most people don't upgrade their phones every single year? With this iPhone review, I'm just gonna do that. Because let's face it, if you already own an iPhone 12, the iPhone 13 is quite unnecessary. It's quite straightforward. However, there are a lot of other things about this phone that have changed for folks who have earlier phones. Also, if you're thinking of getting an iPhone 13, what's up? Welcome back to Tech Tutorials. This is the iPhone 13. The interesting thing about sticking with the same look as the iPhone 12 is that it's easy for people to dismiss it as a minor tweak. Let's be clear, the phone looks, feels, and works nearly identical to the iPhone 12, with the expectation of a few additional grams and a quarter of a millimeter of thickness, which makes it a little more substantial in the hand. They did, however, make the three largest advancements on the 13 to the three most critical aspects of a phone. That is the screen, the battery, and cameras. For a minor update, it was quite decent. I already enjoyed this design a lot, so I'm delighted it's essentially the same, especially with the squared up design and matte aluminium rails. But yeah, same lightning port down here at the bottom, same speakers, somewhat lower button layout, and the cameras now have a diagonal orientation, which I'll get to later. But let's face it, most of you will be placing a case on your new phone anyhow, so none of these details will be noticed for more than a second. The notch at the top is the only part that you may or may not care about. Yes, it is smaller, but only in this way. The sensors, Face ID, and selfie camera are all the same, but they have been reorganized and squeezed a little. And the earpiece is now up top in the middle, so the whole area is roughly 20% less, maybe a little more. The new notch is significantly taller than the iPhone 12, as seen by the fact that it protrudes slightly into full-screen videos, but to tell you the truth, it really doesn't matter. The brighter display is nice, but Apple didn't do much with extra real estate. The icons at the top are the same, there's no battery percentage option, the icons are identical in size. They simply repositioned the notch, but there are a few more features that will come out in iOS 16. Stick around for that when that video comes out. But it's on the inside where you'll see the improvements. So there's a new chip inside. It's the A15 Bionic. It's another high-end chip with a lot of power and speed. To show it, here are your benchmark scores. The new iPhone is fast and swift as usual, but its efficiency impresses me even more. So they've combined a new technology with a physically larger battery this year, which is why the phone is slightly thicker and heavier, but the effects are spectacular. The phone's battery life has significantly improved, but I've had a terrific battery life with this phone. Without a hiccup, I was able to get 5 hours of screen time, 6 hours too often before going into low battery mode, and frequently creeping up to 7. I only actually killed it in a day once during my testing with a heavy day with a lot of unplugged max brightness navigation. It still charges pretty slow, 20 watts over Lightning, 15 watts over MagSafe. Nothing else about this battery experience has changed. There's no split super fast charging batteries or strong magnets for MagSafe. Just straight up bigger battery, more efficient chip, just works. So the iPhone 13 is mostly about the cameras. iPhone 13 has all new cameras throughout the whole line, and there's both a noticeable difference in camera quality and camera features. So to hit on quality first, the sensors are all bigger and the primary camera now has the sensor shift stabilization that was only in the Pro Max in the iPhone 12. That's why it's offset like this cause it's so much bigger. And those new sensors have massive pixel sizes and they're letting in a ton of light. In regular lighting, it won't make a huge difference. I mean, they have been great for a while, so if anything, they're just getting a little bit sharper. But it does mean that I was able to observe slightly quicker shutter speeds in dim lighting versus the 12. So that's pretty sweet. 4K video also looks pretty great. I expected to see maybe a noticeable difference in stabilization from the new sensor shift stabilization, but it also looks the same as the iPhone 12. Again, it'll make more of a difference with low light and keeping that shutter speed fast. Also, sadly, there's still plenty of flaring in nighttime video that hasn't gone away. But let's talk about the new features though, because I think they're actually making a bigger difference than the quality difference. So there's some new features in the camera app. Number one is called photographic styles, and these are really interesting. So there's yet another new button in the camera app. You hit the arrow to expand the settings, and there's this like multi-frame looking thing, and that lets you switch between 5 preset photographic styles, as Apple calls them, that are all slightly but noticeably different. There's the standard style, which looks like every other iPhone, pretty flat, but there's the rich contrast, vibrant, warm, and cool. So it says it's adjusting, as you can see, tone and warmth, and then you can fine-tune these even more with the slider to dial them up all the way you like. And then once you do, you start taking pictures with these settings, and this setting sticks. That picture profile will stay as many times as you close and open the camera app until you go back and change it again. So why is this so interesting? This look is baked in. It's not a filter on top of a neutral capture that you can change later. No, this is full-time adjustment to the actual processing of a photo. The rich contrast photographic styles look like a pixel, and it really looks good. I've been leaving it on full-time specifically because it does achieve that same look. It doesn't affect faces or skin tones too much, but overall tones of the image is a bit darker in the shadows, a bit brighter in the highlights, and it retains all that information. So it's curious that this is not going to be in older iPhones. I figured it's like a pretty straightforward thing for a single shot, but it's not. So this is iPhone 13 series only, but that's a pretty interesting feature. So then the other new feature is in the video department, and it's called cinematic mode. So there's a lot of discussion over what it is and what it's good for. As a result, the camera now has yet another new mode. So right now you have portrait mode photos, regular videos, and now you have cinematic mode, which appears right next to it. Which I assume most people will glance at it and think, oh, okay, portrait mode video. Truth is, it's doing way more than that in the phone. But just to be blunt, it's not doing very good at any one of those things it's supposed to be doing. Cinematic mode is shooting Dolby Vision HDR and is doing constant processing to add that fake blur behind subjects. It's like portrait mode but for every frame. That's a lot of processing. So it's limited only and completely logged to 1080p 30 FPS. And then you start shooting with it. And even if you can get over the kind of shaky focus tracking that's supposed to track faces and how hard it struggles in low light, and the fact that you can't use ultra wide at all, and the fact that the depth of field is only adjustable in post in Apple made apps, there's just not enough manual control for me to consider this particularly cinematic. Or maybe you can call it cinematic mode since the blur is all nice to look at. I mean, the autofocus tracking is pretty cool trick, and it looks pretty dramatic and fun when you turn up the blur all the way up. And sometimes it really does nail a focus transition when people look at the camera the right way and then look away from the camera at the right times. And then you still get the iPhone's video quality. But yeah, cinematic mode for now is really basic 1080p portrait mode video with a manual exposure slider, but it can get better from here. Apart from all this, the iOS 15 update has just been an amazing experience. But now iOS 16 is on its way. Subscribe so you don't miss that video. I should point out that the iPhone 13 is a great smartphone. They took a phone that was already quite fantastic, didn't change anything cosmetically, added some new colors, and changed the things that matter the most to the end user: the screen, battery, and cameras. And that's a pretty good minor update. But for now, iPhone 13, it's a good phone. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.